The chorus of hate being leveled at the president is nearing a crescendo as Democrats blame him and only him for a virus that originated halfway around the world. This is yet another attempt to impeach the president. And sadly, it seems they care very little for any of the destruction they are leaving in their wake. Losses in the stock market. All this, unfortunately, just part of the political casualties for them. You know, this is a time to be united, not to be pointing fingers, not to be encouraging hate, and yet what do we see? We see the absolute opposite from the left tonight. Good evening, everyone. I am Trish Reagan. The hate is boiling over, many in the liberal media using, and I mean using, coronavirus in an attempt to demonize and destroy the president.
I don't think the president is capable of telling us the truth about the coronavirus.
They have no plan. They have no plan. The virus is going to kill Americans regardless of their stupidity.
This administration right now looks like they couldn't organize a one-car parade. He is not going to be able to have his rallies, and it is going to psychologically torment him.
The president should lead, or else he should get out of the way. Stay on the golf course.
This may be Donald Trump's Katrina.
Yeah.
This is an event that could take down a president.
There's no confidence in the president in anything he says or does. I wish he would just be quiet.
I see. This is impeachment all over again. And like with the Mueller investigation, like with Ukraine Gate, they don't care who they hurt. Whether it be their need to create mass hysteria to encourage a market sell-off, unlike anything we've seen recently, or whether it be to create mass hysteria in order to stop our economy dead in its tracks. Don't kid yourself. They told us how much they crave a recession as a way to get rid of Donald Trump.
Do you see now why I say we need a recession? I know it's going to be painful, but we have to get rid of this guy.
A recession is a survivable event. What Trump is doing to this country is not. Recessions are survivable events.
I've been hoping for a recession. People hate me for it, but it would get rid of Trump, so you shouldn't hate me for it.
I mean, recessions are really bad. People lose their jobs and their homes, and we shouldn't wish
it's worth it.
You know, of course, these are people's jobs.
This is Trish Reagan. She was just fired for this segment, which is absolutely ridiculous, and she's not wrong. Everywhere you go, this is not saying that the virus is a hoax. She's saying that they're using this to try and collapse the president, which they are, which they've been doing since the beginning. They have used every single thing that has happened to try and turn it on the president. And like she said, we should be uniting over this. So that's what she gets fired for saying that we should be uniting instead of trying to desperately use this to sink down Trump. And there's comments all the time actually blaming this on Trump. What does he have to do? This thing came out of nowhere. But the left are doing exactly that. And like I said, they haven't stopped doing it for 3 freaking years. So they don't have a leg to stand on at this point. I mean, talking about the boy that cried wolf. But look, things like this, Paul Krugman sharing this chart, so many others sharing this chart, almost seeming excited, like they want this to fail as a desperate way to maybe get rid of Trump. It's insane. Look, America's response to the coronavirus is the worst in the world, which is shocking and has a lot to do with a leader who is completely unfit temperamentally and intellectually for the job. So this is a chart showing the number of cases versus the number of days. And he's saying, oh, we have more cases than these countries in the same amount of days. And that means we're the worst in the world. We're failing. Well, maybe he should mention that we have 267 million more people in our country than Italy, okay? Why don't you do a little something called percentages? There are 327 million people in the United States and 60 million in Italy. All right, now does this seem so bad? You understand why this is complete fake news? Oh, but he fails to mention this, where confirmed case fatality rate in Italy is 10.84% and 1.67% in the United States. All right, he's only calling attention to this number, which is higher because we have hundreds of millions of more people here. So here's the perfect example of what Trish Reagan is talking about. This got 48,000 likes and almost 17,000 retweets. But it's all about perception. They know they can mold society through the media. And they've been doing it for our whole lives. They've been doing it since the First World War. your mind. They know exactly what they're doing. Now watch it. I'm going to let it play, and then we're going to go back over this a little bit.
We want to show you why officials say the next few weeks are so important. It took 67 days for the worldwide number of reported cases to reach 100,000, but just 11 days to reach 200,000 and just 4 days to go to 300,000. That is why there is such high concern in hotspots all across the United States, including right here in New York City.
New York's governor says FEMA gave the state 400 ventilators. To that, he said this.
What am I going to do with 400 ventilators when I need 30,000? You pick the 26,000 people who are going to die because you only sent 400 ventilators.
Okay, so first he goes over this. All right, 67 days for 100,000 cases, 11 days for 200,000 cases, 4 days for 300,000 cases. Well, guess what? This is when everyone started testing them. So yeah, so now they're spiking. Like in New York, they said, oh, there was all these new cases in one day. Well, that's because they just started testing so many people in one day. So they're making it look like some crazy spike when these people probably had this already, and now they're just being confirmed. Okay, so that's the first thing. Now, second part's coming up. You got all this where they're making it seem like, oh, Governor Cuomo, he's really fighting for everything, and it's so bad in New York, and this is the epicenter of where the disease is. But it's creating all that tension, right? And now, while they're going through it, they first show this, which was a news conference that Governor Cuomo held, which was basically 1 hour of him just yelling about the president, oh my God, and you're only selling this much, and how could you do that? While he's sitting in front of half of the Jacobs Javits Center, which is huge, by the way, filled with supplies, okay? Then, watch this. Hey, where do we get this from? All right, so this is showing how bad it is in New York. Oh, wait, this is actually from ABC News a few days before that, talking about the coronavirus in Italy.
The ICU is already overwhelmed. Those plastic bubble helmets are connected to ventilators to help the gasping patients breathe. This hospital...
I don't know, guys. I think ABC and CBS just proved quantum entanglement. So we go back to that. Here's, according to ABC on March 20th, this is Italy. And according to CBS on March 24th, this is New York. The same footage from the same hospitals. You got the two doctors, one in green scrubs, one in blue scrubs. And if you pause it right here, you see you got the same computer, same wastebasket, same green thing here on the bed. The back's exactly the same. It's the same exact footage, one being used for Italy and one being used for New York. But nevertheless, I watched this press conference. It gives you the feeling like, oh my God, if you don't get these 30,000 ventilators there tomorrow, half the city's going to be dead. I mean, it really created an uproar. People went crazy online attacking the president. And here's the news still playing the clip days later, even though 2,000 of them had, in fact, been dropped off that very day and were just sitting in a warehouse undistributed. And they had already known that those were coming because Pence had said days before that they were sending 2,000 ventilators and that they're actually going to send another 2,000 on Wednesday. You got Trump, who right off the bat said these people are working with us. They're calling us up saying, how can we help? They're going to make ventilators. Then on top of that, after all the people already saying they were going to help and the people scrambling to make ventilators, he orders GM to start manufacturing ventilators a couple days ago. But nevertheless, the hysteria is still going off the rails about Trump. Well, what do you want this guy to do? They're trying desperately to get as many ventilators as they can to Cuomo. He even changed the practice where they were bringing them to Washington first and then distributing to the states, and even made it so now they're going straight to New York. And then on top of all that, on all this hysteria that Governor Cuomo, who's supposed to be, oh, he's so presidential, this isn't presidential, this guy's causing a panic for no reason, says that he had the chance to purchase 16,000 ventilators in case of a pandemic in 2015. It would have been 0.5% of the budget, or $576 million. I can't believe they cost this much to make, but wow. But either way, I mean, why is this all being put on Trump? You could have been in a way better spot for this, but you declined it. So now that it's been found that after he caused this huge hysteria, they found thousands of ventilators just sitting in a warehouse unused, much like what happened after Hurricane Maria, where they found all those warehouses of supplies to this day that were never distributed. If you remember then, what did they do? They tried to pushed the narrative that Trump was leaving them out to dry and they weren't sending enough supplies. Well, now we found that they did send enough supplies, but that was this whole politicized campaign. Well, what do you know? They're doing the same thing. And what's his response? Let's look at Governor Cuomo's response after it's found, days after his whole panic speech, that there's thousands of ventilators that haven't even been passed out yet.
The point is, we have ventilators in a stockpile, and we didn't send them to the hospitals yet. Of course we didn't. That's the whole point. The hospitals don't need them yet. The hospitals aren't at their apex. The hospitals have enough ventilators today.
Wait, I'm sorry. The hospitals have enough ventilators today, so they don't need them right away? Then what was that whole dog and pony show the other day? That was to create this hysteria. They're doing exactly what Trish Reagan said they're doing, and she got fired from it.
But the numbers are going up. We're planning for an apex, a high point in about 21 days. That's when we need the 30,000 ventilators, not today.
All right, well, if you need them in 21 days and the president is completely trying to get you as many as possible and doing all this stuff, then what's the point to yell at him? Just think about it. What purpose did that serve? It served no purpose other than to create hysteria against the president. These people are very calculated. When you type in thousands of ventilators found in New York, you don't get that Trump pointed that out. You get this. You get his response calling him grossly uninformed and yelling at him. You get this, the hysterical response that started it all in the first place. And over, you just get Governor Cuomo. Hey, he's out there being a hero, causing mayhem that is unnecessary. One after the other. You don't get the other side of the story. You only get their side because they are a team. They're weaponizing this. They want this. They are loving, in my opinion, my personal opinion, they are loving every second of this because they are using it as a way to, I don't even know how you could justify putting this on the president, but they are. But this is why, because they have their whole little hysterical anti-Trump campaign going on. And you can't deny it. It's everywhere you turn. And it's in comments, and some of them are bots, and some of them are real people. Calling this the Trump pandemic, I mean, it's embarrassing. Now, here's the sort of stuff the news should be covering. Now, this is a study conducted by the Department of Defense in 2018, and it says examining non-influenza viruses, specifically the odds of both coronavirus and human metapneumonia virus in vaccinated individuals were significantly higher when compared to unvaccinated individuals. So this is saying that people who had gotten the flu shot were way more prone to get the coronavirus than not get the coronavirus. All right, vaccinated 507, non-vaccinated 170 for the coronavirus. So if you got a flu shot, you were in a way higher risk. You should probably keep that in the back of your mind. Just be a little extra cautious, you know. Now think about this. What is the majority of deaths are of senior citizens, correct? Now look what was approved by the FDA in November of 2019, only a few weeks after the Event 201 coronavirus pandemic simulation, which took place in New York, which just happens to be the epicenter of the outbreak in the United States. What a coincidence. But only a couple weeks after that, they approved a high-dose flu shot. This is basically a double-dose flu shot to be used in adult patients of 65 years and older. Now it says it's going to be available for next year's flu season. However, at that point, they had already distributed to 32,000 adults of 65 years of older, and he was going to continue to deliver it through the end of the 2019-2020 influenza season. So, just to recap, flu shots make you way more vulnerable to coronavirus. And starting 2 weeks after the coronavirus pandemic exercise on October 18th in Manhattan, the FDA approved a double flu shot and started giving it to patients 65 years and older, the exact age of the majority of victims. So that's definitely something to consider on all this. Now, another thing to consider is this article. It says, Emergency meningite vaccinate 34,000 persone tra Brescia e Bergamo. And that's saying that there was a meningitis emergency in Italy and that they had to vaccinate 34,000 people in Brescia and Bergamo. This is from 18 Gennaio, which is January 18th. So this is in January that they vaccinated 34,000 people for meningitis. And if you look at the ingredients of the flu shot compared to the meningitis vaccine, they actually both have sodium phosphate, sodium chloride, and formaldehyde. Sodium phosphate, sodium chloride, and formaldehyde. So it could be possible that it's one of these ingredients that's exacerbating the virus. But now if you look here, Brescia and Bergamo are both in Lombardy, Italy. Lombardy is where the epicenter of the Italian outbreak is right now. So anyway, those are just some things to chew on and trying to dispel some of the hysteria right now that Donald Trump is dropping the ball with this, which is absolutely ridiculous. The guy's coming out every day and talking, giving information, putting the CDC up there, letting people talk to everyone about what's going on, which is being undercut by Mama Lukes like this, who are coming out and trying to create hysteria. But then when people call him out for not even distributing the thousands of ventilators he already has, oh, well, then they don't need them for 21 days. Guys, we don't need them right now. Well, that is not the impression that you gave off. And of course, while creating this hysteria, they're using hospital footage from Italy, okay? This is the Italian ward. I mean, God, at this point, who even knows if this was from an Italian hospital? But it's certainly not from a New York hospital. Just like how this CNN reporter wasn't actually under a gas attack, but rather on a CNN soundstage. Just like how this street isn't really flooded. Just like how ABC News spliced in fake footage of this gauge going up. When you pause it, you can see all the dashboard lights are on. That was actually in Park when they filmed that. Just like how Hillary Clinton never landed under sniper fire. Just like how Brian Williams' helicopter was never hit by an RPG. Just like how there were never actually any incubator babies, and she was coached to say this. Just like how the Syrian hero boy image was found to be produced by a movie director. Just like this viral video from last year with this Kurdish woman who was allegedly holding her dead daughter, where you see the footage beforehand that the daughter was actually drinking from her bottle, and you could see her blinking throughout it. And of course, also from last year, just like how ABC News tried to use footage from a Kentucky gun show and pass it off as Syria. Here's the fake news again, using the same footage from the same ICU unit in two different clips, one in Italy and one in New York. Some things never change. Where we go one, we go all.
I've been very clear. I have an immediate problem on the equipment for this wave that is happening. The hospitals don't need them yet. I have an immediate problem. The hospitals have enough ventilators.
Where are the masks? Where are they?